Hey everyone, and welcome back to Fine Print. Today, we are concluding part 6 and the final part of the India series by discussing the revoking of Article 370 in Kashmir. If you enjoyed this series and exploring the intricacies of Indian history and current events, be sure to keep following Fine Print. Stay tuned for more such series on different parts of the world, as well as new episode formats. To understand the weightage of the revoking of Article 370, it is important to understand the article as well as its implications for India and the princely state of Kashmir. Article 370 was a provision made in the Indian Constitution that granted Jammu and Kashmir special status, which declared it as its own state. This allowed certain degree of autonomy and was signed into law in 1949 by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. Key provisions in the article were self-determination and special rights for the residents of Jammu and Kashmir. Under Article 370, Jammu and Kashmir had their own constitution and decision-making abilities over most matters, except foreign affairs and defense strategies. Furthermore, many Indian laws passed by Parliament didn't automatically apply to Jammu and Kashmir. Instead, the laws were required to be approved by the state legislature of the region. Although the provision was initially created as a temporary provision to facilitate the addition of Jammu and Kashmir into India, it remained in effect up till 2019. Residents of Jammu and Kashmir were also given dual citizenship, allowing them to hold citizenship of J&K and India at the same time. Jammu and Kashmir also had its own state flag, Prime Minister and Chief Minister. In India, Article 370 was seen from two very different perspectives. Some Indians viewed the provision as an important step towards allowing Kashmir to pursue autonomous rule. They believed that it was important to respect the region's cultural and religious identity, given its distinct Muslim majority. On the other hand, many Indians advocated to remove the article. Many Indian nationalists and supporters of the BJP, or the Bharatiya Janata Party, saw Article 370 as a provision that was stopping India from completely integrating Kashmir into the country. They argued that the article was causing increased sentiments of separatism and Islamic insurgencies in the region. In Kashmir, Article 370 was seen with pride. Many local political leaders, such as those from the National Conference and the People's Democratic Party, viewed the article as a necessary step towards guaranteeing the region's autonomy. For many people, the article represented a protection of the Kashmiri Muslim identity and feared that the removal of the article would lead to the wipeout of this distinct Kashmiri identity. In Jammu, on the other hand, the Hindu majority believed that the article was granting Kashmiris more rights than other Indians and saw the region's autonomy as an obstacle for development in the region. In Ladakh, a diverse religious and ethnic population was in favor of revoking the article, as they believed that the article was causing political separatism to rise in the region. The various perspectives towards Article 370 were just one aspect of the abrogation that made the decision so controversial and challenging to carry out. On one hand were concerned Kashmiris who believed that the article protected their cultural identity, and on the other hand were supporters of the BJP who believed that the article was hindering the prospect of equal rights for all Indians and was causing the Kashmiri youth to suffer due to separatist movements. By 2019, the tensions had risen so high that one group decided to take matters into their own hands. The abrogation of Article 370 is remembered in history as a one-day event. However, the meticulous planning that spanned behind it is unaware to many, even today. The planning for the abrogation of the article began several years before 2019. The Indian Research and Analysis Wing, or RANW, and the Intelligence Bureau teamed up to gather information regarding the political situation in Jammu and Kashmir, tracking youth insurgencies that could potentially hinder their plan. They monitored separatist activities and militant movements that opposed the integration of Kashmir in India and kept a close eye on political leaders from the NC and PDP. Leaders in the BJP under Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Minister of Home Affairs Amit Shah also manifested the abrogation of Article 370 in their 2019 political campaigns and allied with Indian spy agencies to make the abrogation happen. The Indian government studied the Indian Constitution to find proper legal methods to abrogate the article. The President of India, Ram Nath Kovind, issued the presidential order that allowed India to formally revoke Article 370. In the months leading up to the abrogation, the Indian government deployed thousands of additional troops, mainly to the Kashmir Valley, to prevent any last-minute insurgencies. Days before the abrogation, political leaders in Jammu and Kashmir were placed under house arrest, and internet and landline connections were shut down in the region, preventing any communication from entering or exiting the region for the time being. Many supporters of the article viewed these procedures as a threat to their way of life. Many Kashmiris believed that Indian authorities were misusing their powers and cutting off the Kashmiri people from the rest of the world. For most Indians, however, the abrogation of the article was important to preserving the security of the Kashmiri people and equal rights for all Indians under the Indian Constitution. The abrogation formally took place on August 5, 2019, when the President of India issued a presidential order under Article 370 that revoked Jammu and Kashmir's special status. The order was followed by an amendment to the Indian Constitution that allowed for the revocation of Jammu and Kashmir's special status. With the abrogation, the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act was also passed by Parliament and effectively split Jammu and Kashmir into two union territories, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. Article 35A was also revoked, which had previously granted special privileges to the residents of Jammu and Kashmir. The abrogation of Article 370 brought the state of Jammu and Kashmir at the same status as the other Indian states, maintaining equality under the Indian Constitution. All Indian laws now applied to the region, such as property and employment laws. Although the revocation sounded like an overall negative act for the people of Kashmir, it in fact saved the territory from potential internal dismantling due to youth insurgencies and militant control. The revocation meant greater representation of Jammu and Kashmir in the Indian Parliament through the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, or the lower and upper houses of Parliament. It also opened up the territory to greater improvements in infrastructure and private investments. The revocation also guaranteed the elimination of discriminatory practices against Kashmiris. Since the Union territory was now integrated into India, there would be less scope for discriminatory feelings. In summary, Article 370 was a provision made to the Indian Constitution in 1959 that granted the territory of Jammu and Kashmir special status, which allowed it to reside as a separate state with autonomous rule and special rights unavailable to Indian citizens elsewhere. The article was appreciated in Jammu and Kashmir, as it was seen as a safeguard to Kashmiri culture and allowed them the right to self-rule. In India, however, the article was believed to be a dividing force between the people of India and the people of the Kashmiri state. It was believed that the article caused increased anti-India feelings that led to separatist movements in the region, which caused widespread violence and instability. Seeing this, the BJP enacted a procedure that spans several years that aimed to abrogate the article to integrate Jammu and Kashmir into India. With the help of the Indian Prime Minister, President, spy agencies, and undercover agents, on August 5, 2019, the article was formally abrogated. In India, the abrogation was met with praise, as the integration of Kashmir in India allowed for equal rights for all citizens, reduced discrimination, and increased stability in the now Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. In J&K, however, the abrogation was met with widespread criticism, as many believed that the Kashmiri identity was at risk. Regardless of the mixed attitudes towards the abrogation, the revocation of Article 370 has brought increased stability and limited violence to the region since 2019 and has firmly integrated Kashmiri beliefs into the Indian Parliament. This episode concludes the India series, and Fine Print sincerely hopes that you gained some useful information about the history of India, all the way from the Mauryan Empire to the Mughal invasions to British colonialism, all the way to India's military and geopolitical legacy. Keep following Fine Print for more episodes, as we will be bringing new episode formats to the show very soon. Until then, keep reading between the lines.